After 18 hours of labor, the delivery was not going well at all, and it was too late for a cesarean. I was exhausted. They decided to use forceps, and so they gave me anesthesia through a mask. My experience began as I went off to sleep. It started with the dizzying sensation of falling backwards. And at the same time, I had the impression that I was falling forward, toward a point located at the base of my nose and in between my two eyes. As I was falling down a dark tunnel, I could hear a kind of strident ringing sound, which was silent at the same time. A bit like those whistling sounds that we sometimes have in our ear, but 1,000 times more powerful and 1,000 times more silent. That seems like an absurd thing to say, but it really was both sensations at once. It was as if all the alarms in the world were ringing at the same time, all inside of me. At the far end of the tunnel, I saw a luminous point, which was approaching at a very high speed. I began to feel very sure of one thing. If you cross into that light, you will then be dead. At the same time, I was in a state of total happiness and high excitement, and inside me, I was repeating this phrase over and over, "This is it. I'm going home." I was moving very fast, but I could still think clearly. Suddenly I remembered that I had had this same experience before, in my early childhood. I knew this light. I have to clarify that I had many health problems during my childhood. When I was 8, I had had a serious hemorrhage after my tonsil operation. In those days, where I lived, tonsillectomies were performed at home. Which means that my parents had been present with me throughout, not out in a hospital waiting room. They told me later that they had been very scared that I might die. I had forgotten this incident, but, when I was in the tunnel, I knew that I had already made this trip. And at that moment, I also understood something that had haunted me all throughout my childhood. As far back as I can remember, I had always felt certain that I was dreaming and did not belong to this world. And that I would wake up soon. I thought perhaps I belonged to a universe 10 minutes before or 10 minutes after the one in which I found myself. But that this one was not mine. But on my 10th birthday, I cried in despair as I resolved that I must accept what this voice was telling me. All right, you are dreaming, but that dream is your life. You will not wake up until the end of it. I would also like to clarify that when this occurred in 1960, we did not yet have a television. So I could not have been influenced by science fiction shows. That is why, I think, I was filled with the certainty that I was going home. When I arrived at the end of the tunnel, I saw a kind of doorstep. On the other side, there was an indescribable light, which I felt was like a substance composed of pure love. I thought, it is a light from the fire of God. There was that one essential presence. And also there were beings whom I was sure I already knew, and who loved me. None of these presences of love had any form or face. We did not speak, but we understood each other. I tried to enter, but I heard/felt, "Go back, for you have not yet done what you had to do." I tried to negotiate, because I wanted very much to enter. At the same time, for everything was simultaneous, I was totally happy and totally intrigued. Because I did not feel any sadness nor any worry for those I had left behind me. I did not understand why I felt no sadness, no regret, only the absolute desire to enter into that light. I insisted on entering, but then I had the sensation of being taken by the shoulders and made to turn around. And of being pushed back in the direction from which I had come. Instantly, I felt all the weight of my physical body in the sensation of a heavy haze, gray and oppressive. I heard, first from afar, then nearby, the voice of the wise woman who was shouting into my ears. "Breathe! Good God, breathe!" And so I made a superhuman effort and breathed deeply. Then I fell right to sleep. When I woke up from the anesthesia. And in the hours that followed, I had this phrase constantly in mind: "What have you done with your talents?" I understood that it was the key to my return. I am from a large family of very modest means. We lived in the countryside. My teachers always told my parents that I was gifted in the arts. And they helped me, supported me, lent me a musical instrument at the age of 10, and gave me free courses. Because of that, I studied music, went to the conservatory, etc. Then came the health problems, an unplanned pregnancy, an unstable marriage. In sum, when I had this experience, I had stopped everything. After my experience, I always kept this phrase, "What have you done with your talents?" in mind. Convinced by that time that I had come here, into this material world, with a number of cards in my hand. And that I had the duty to do something with them. In the years that followed, I started playing music again, I started writing, and I became a visual artist. Today, I believe, I have realized to the best of my abilities the talents that were given to me. I am convinced that art is a bridge between these universes. The one beyond the light and this world below.